يقول راجي عفو رب سامعي محمد بن الجزري الشافعي: الحمد لله وصلى الله على نبيه ومصطفاه محمد وآله وصحبه ومقرئ القرآن مع محبه. وبعد إن هذه مقدمة فيما على قارئه أن يعلمه، إذ واجب عليهم محتم قبل الشروع أولا أن يعلموا مخارج الحروف والصفات ليلفظوا بأفصاح اللغات، محرر التجويد والمواقف وما الذي رسم في المصاحف.
اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. We continue by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's blessings in explaining منظومة المقدمة فيما على قارئ القرآن أن يعلمه. And we are starting by Allah's blessings, section 5. So as we mentioned, Imam Ibn Aljazariyya rahimahullah ta'ala, he made an introduction of Aljazariyya. Then he explained then makharij al-huruf in one section, sifat al-huruf in the second. Then he talked about tajweed. What does tajweed mean? How to apply tajweed? How to maintain tajweed, etc. And now section number 5. Section number 5, some scholars they called it Babun fi dhikri ba'di tanbihat. A section in mentioning some warnings or some points that you need to pay attention to. All of these things that he's going to mention, he mentioned them in general. Now he's asking you to pay extra attention to these points so that your recitation will be correct. So let's read the lines first, then we go inshallah to the details. So what does he say rahimahullah? In this section we have 7 lines. 7 lines. As you can see on the screen, فرققا, you can see on the screen, فرققا مستفلا من أحرفي وحاذرا تفخيم لفظ الألف وهمزة الحمد أعوذ إهدنا الله ثم لام لله لنا وليتلطف على الله ولض والميم من مخنصة ومن مرض وباء برق باطل بهم به واحرص على الشدة والجهر الذي فيها وفي الجيم كحب الصبر ربوة اجتثت وحج الفجر وبينا مقلقلا إن سكنا وإن يكن في الوقف كان أبينا. Or وبينا مقلقلا إن سكنا وإن يكن في الوقف كان أبينا وحاء حصحص أحط الحق وسين مستقيم يسقو يسقو. Okay. So the first line he is mentioning rahimahullah ta'ala, as you can see, 7 lines. These 7 lines, 5 of them about Tarqeeq. 5 of them about what? Tarqeeq and Tafkhim. Making some letters light. And he already told us what are the light letters and what are the heavy letters. He already told us what the heavy letters are and what the light letters are. Here he is drawing our attention to some letters that usually people make them heavy, or and he is mentioning some examples. 5 lines about Tarqeeq. 1 line about shidda and jahr in the ba and the jim, and 1 line about qalqala. That's it. He mentioned all of those. He mentioned about tarqiq, tafkhim, shidda, jahr, qalqala. He mentioned. Now he's drawing our attention to some points that people usually make mistakes in. Okay? So this is, the scholars as they mentioned, this is from ذكر الخاص بعد العام. ذكر الخاص بعد العام. He generally mentioned those sections, those topics, tarqiq, qalqala, shidda, jahr. Now he's mentioning something special, some specific examples or words or letters to pay more attention to them. Just like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, for example, Surah Al-Baqarah, right? حافظوا على الصلوات والصلاة الوسطى. Maintain prayers, right? That's salawat. And As-salatul wusta. What is as-salatul wusta? The middle salah, which is what? What is the middle salah? Asr. So he already mentioned maintain prayers. So he said, and the middle prayer means he's giving extra attention, right, to it. So this is mentioning the khas, the specific, after the general. Same thing here. In this section is all about things that he already mentioned, but here now he's drawing our attention to pay more emphasis and more attention to these things. Most of our mistakes, as I mentioned before, most of our mistakes are because of our dialects or because of our languages. So, for example, to start with non-Arabs, for example, Pakistanis, for example, they don't have the ha, so they make it ha. So they say Rahman, Rahim, etc. They don't have the ayn, for example, right? Do you have the ayn, guys, in Urdu? No ayn, so they say alim instead of alim, and that changes the meaning. Alim means painful, alim means knowledgeable, right? Big difference. Many people, they replace some letters when they read the Quran to a letter that is close to their own language. And some Arabs also, they change some letters to suit their own Arabic dialect. Like in Yemen, for example, instead of some places in Yemen, instead of qaf, they say ga. So instead of qala, they say gala. In Egypt, you know, some people, instead of jim, they say what? G. Right? So rajim, they say ragim. In their dialect, in some areas in Egypt. Same thing in Syria, as I told you, some words, for example, we say dhufda, dhuf. And even though in Arabic we don't have V, still we say, many words we use V in the Syrian dialect, for example, particularly in Damascus, we say dhufda, dhuf, right? Which is wrong. And likewise, in Saudi, they say dha instead of da in some places, dha. The point is, regardless of your language or your dialect, all of us, we should abandon these dialects and languages when it comes to recitation of the Quran, and we should have takalluf, as we mentioned, the good praise takalluf, which is putting an effort, and even if you find some difficulty, to change those letters and try to learn them in the way that the Arabs in the time of the Prophet ﷺ used to recite. The classical Arabic, the Al-Arabiyya al-Fusha. Al-Arabiyya, what do they call the classical Arabic? Al-Arabiyya al-Fusha. Okay? Al-Arabiyya al-Fusha. That's all of us what we have to do. Same thing when it comes to Tarqeeq and Tafkhim. For example, in Syria we say batil. Batil. Ya batil. They say ya batil. What's this? Ya batil. Ba. In Arabic we don't have ba. We have ba. Right? Ba. Right? And we say Khalid. Khalid. If I want to call my brother, I say Khalid, Kha. But in Arabic we don't say Kha, we say Kha. But you will never hear someone saying Kha, Ya Khalid. And if someone says this, they'll make fun of him because it sounds awkward, even though it's correct. So when someone's trying to speak the classical Arabic or the Al-Arabiyya al-Fusha, people make fun of him, at least in my area. And that's wrong, of course. But this is what they do because they're not used to it. It sounds awkward, right? But that's wrong anyway. They have to, the more we are far from Fusha, the farther we are from our religion, from understanding the Quran, understanding the Hadith, understanding the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So here, the first line, he's talking about what? Tarqeeq. He's talking about Tarqeeq. As you can see, in our dialect, some letters we make them heavy and they are light. Some letters we make them light and they are heavy. We have to learn and stick to the way the Quran letters are pronounced as transmitted to us by our sheikhs, may Allah have mercy on him, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay. Imam al-Khalil bin Ahmad Farahidi, the one who founded the science of Arud, which is the metric scales or the poetic meters, as we mentioned, he is the Shaykh of Sibawayh, one of the greatest scholars of Arabic language. He is the first one who put makharij and sifat of the letters. He explained every letter, how it comes, where does it come from, what do you do in order to pronounce it correctly. And he mentioned sifat al-huruf as well. It's not enough to learn the makhraj of the letter, which is where the letter comes from or where the letter is produced. You have to know what, ya brother? You have to know sifa of the letter. The attribute of that letter means how does it come? Does it come light or heavy? Does it come with breath accompanying it or no? Does it sound flow or no, etc., etc. And we explained all that in the second and third sections of Aljazariyya by Allah's blessings. Then the scholars of Tajweed, they took those topics from the books of Arabic and they put them in the beginning of the Tajweed books because the Quran is in Arabic, and the first step to read the Quran is to learn to read the Arabic letters correctly. That's the most important thing. Before learning about idgham and ghunna, etc., you have to pronounce the letters from their right place with their right sifa. And some sifat, if you change them, you change the letter. Pay attention. We have two types of sifat, and we mentioned this before when we talked about, in the previous section, when we talked about the ruling of learning tajweed. When we talked about the details ruling of learning tajweed. There are some sifat, ya habibi, ya brother, some sifat, they call it decorative sifat. They just give beauty to the letter. If you don't apply them, they don't change the letter into another letter. The letter won't change into another letter if you don't apply them. Like the kha, tafkhim for the kha. If you say khalidin or you say khalidin, the kha will remain a kha. But in some letters, like sin and sad, if you make the sin heavy or you make the sad light, you change the letter. If you make the sad light, it becomes a sin. Like someone was reading today or yesterday. وَأَصْرَرْتُ. It is وَأَصْرَرْتُ. He changed it to he made the sad light. He said it is وَأَسْرَرْتُ. He made the sad heavy. He made the sin heavy, it became sad. وَأَسْرَرْتُ means I conceal. وَأَسْرَرْتُ. He made وَأَصْرَرْتُ. You change the letter. So sometimes when you change the sifa of the letter, you change the letter. This is why those sifat are mandatory to apply. Right? Same thing with ta and ta. Ta and ta. لِيُنذِرَ يَوْمَ التَّلَاقُ. يَوْمَ التَّلَاقُ. If you make the ta heavy, it becomes talaq. Talaq means meeting. Talaq means divorce. You see? It's very important. مَالِكِ يَوْمِ الدِّينِ. If you make the dal ta, you change the meaning. But that's not an example about lightness and heaviness. If you say وَالطِّينِ إِنَّا خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ, for example, مِنْ طِينٍ. We created him from mud. Right? We created him from mud. طِين. If you say from مِنْ طِين, and instead of طِين, it becomes fig. Right? So we have to pay attention to lightness and heaviness of the letters. Let's go to the first line. The first line in this section is what? فَرَقِّقًا مُسْتَفِلًا مِنْ أَحْرُفِي وَحَاذِرًا تَفْخِيمَ لَفْظِ الْأَلِفِ. So this is line 34. Let's see in the screen, this line 34, as you can see in the screen. Line 34. فَرَقِّقًا مُسْتَفِلًا مِنْ أَحْرُفِي وَحَاذِرًا تَفْخِيمَ لَفْظِ الْأَلِفِ. Yalla, let's take word by word, then we'll go to the details. Fa, this is a conjunction. Fa is what? A conjunction. So as I told you before, if you want to learn the right way and save your time so that when the test comes you're ready, you need to take notes and be serious and do it in the right way. For example, now you're supposed to have the line written and you're on top of your notebook, on top of the page, this line. Now I'm going to tell you the meanings of every word, the literal meaning. So under every word you're going to write the literal meaning, and under the literal meaning, if the contextual meaning is different, you're going to write it also under that. Okay? For example, then you write the notes under that. Fa, this is a conjunction. Means and something like this. So this is, they call it fa isti'nafiyya, for resumption. This is a conjunction for resumption. رَقِّقًا means make light. رَقِّقًا from raqiq, or make thin. Make thin. Okay? For example, if someone you're cutting an apple, okay, you're slicing an apple, okay, and you made, for example, you want to make thin slices. So if you made the slice of apple, for example, thick, I would tell you, and I want you to make it thinner, I would say رَقِّق. What would I say? رَقِّق. التفاح or التفاح or الشرائح. رَقِّق means make it what? Thinner. Got it? That's the literal meaning of رَقِّق. رَقِيق. Make thin. Okay? But here it means what? For the letters, we don't say make the letter thin. What do we say? Make the letter light. Right? Okay. Now, why he said رَقِّقًا? What is this noon? This is called the light noon of emphasis. Noon التوكيد الخفيفة. What is it called? The light noon of emphasis. Noon التوكيد الخفيفة. We have this in the Quran. لَنَسْفَعًا بالناصية, right? لنسفعا بالناصية, right? ولا يكونا من الصاغرين, ولا يكونا من الصاغرين, لا يسجنن أو لا يسجنن ولا يكونا من الصاغرين. If I would usually use the command in Arabic addressing the singular, it should end with a sukun. So I would say رَقِّقْ. What would I say? What would I say? رَقِّقْ. اقرأ, اكتب. It would end with a sukun when you're addressing the singular, generally speaking. Some letters, some verbs, they don't end with sukun. Depend on the verb. That's the general rule. Now, if I want to emphasize the verb or the command, I would add this noon, which is a noon sakina. It's called the light noon of emphasis. So I would say رَقِّقًا. What did I say? رَقِّقًا. اكتبًا. See? Instead of اكتب, I say what? اكتبًا. Instead of اقرأ, I say what? اقرأً. Got it? رَقِّق. رَقِّقًا. Did you get that? So, here, make sure you make light. Got it so far? Okay. Now, by the way, when you stop on this verb, what would you say? I mentioned this before, guys. Do you remember? Because we lost the video, the voice was not working, so I'm repeating. Do you notice that? Or as if it's like a new information. We explained this before, right? Last week. How do you stop on رَقِّقًا? I mentioned this last week. And there are 2 words only in the whole Quran that have this rule. How do you stop on رَقِّقًا? You know? How do you stop on رَقِّقًا? How do you stop on لَنَسْفَعًا? لَنَسْفَعًا. So the Arabs, when they stop on this verb, which has noon التوكيد الخفيفة, they make an alif. They change it into an alif. Instead of saying رَقِّقًا, رَقِّقًا, لَنَسْفَعًا, لَنَسْفَعًا. This is why in the Quran, لَنَسْفَعًا is written with an alif or with a noon. Surah Al-Alaq is written with an alif. As if they're telling you, this is how you stop, this is how you read it when you stop. Same thing, وَلَا يَكُونًا مِنَ الصَّاغِرِينَ. Is it written with noon or with an alif? Surah Sayyidina Yusuf, with an alif. As if they're telling you, if you stop on this verb, you're gonna release the noon. Means you're gonna pronounce it as an alif. So you would say, وَلَا يَكُونًا لَنَسْفَعًا. Same thing here, فَرَقِّقًا. Did you get it? Okay. So, فَرَقِّقًا means make sure you make light. You make light what? مُسْتَفِلًا. مُسْتَفِلًا مِنْ أَحْرُفِ. The mustafil from among the letters. Make light what? The mustafil from among the letters means the letters that are mustafil. The letters that are mustafil. Mustafil literally means what? Mustafil means going down. The one that is going down. Okay? The one that is going down. That's mustafil. And we know ahruf al-istifal. We learned this in Sifat al-Huruf, third section. Istifal, opposite of isti'la, right? Istifal, opposite of isti'la. What are the isti'la letters? وَالسَّبْعُ عُلْوٍ خُصَّ ضَغْطٍ قِضْ حَصَى. خُصَّ ضَغْطٍ قِضْ. Every letter besides خُصَّ ضَغْطٍ قِضْ is mustafil letters. So make all the mustafil letters, make them what? Light. Why? Because Tarqeeq is the result of istifal. Tarqeeq is the result of istifal. I'm gonna start writing the questions from now in this section so that you're aware. So why he's saying, why we have to make Tarqeeq for the istifal letters? Why we have to make Tarqeeq for the istifal letters? Because what? Because Tarqeeq is the result of istifal. Write it down. We mentioned this when we talked in the last section, when we said وَهُوَ إِعْطَاءُ الْحُرُوفِ حَقَّهَا مِنْ كُلِّ صِفَةٍ وَمُسْتَحَقَّهَا. To give the letters their right, and means their makharij and their sifat, and what results from those sifat. What results from those sifat? What's the result of istifal? Tarqeeq, right? The result of istifal is Tarqeeq. Okay, Bismillah. فَرَقِّقًا مُسْتَفِلًا مِنْ أَحْرُفِ. I'm going to ask you about this also. What are the two words? So this section about tanbihat, if I would give it a name, I would say this is section of Tarqeeq. This is section of Tarqeeq. Because 5 of the lines of this section are about Tarqeeq. 1 line about qalqala, 1 about shidda and jahr. So basically it's about Tarqeeq. Focusing on Tarqeeq and tafkhim. Okay? So, why we have to make the mustafil letters light? Also, what are the two words that have noon, the light noon of emphasis in the Quran? And how do you stop on them and how they are written, right? The nasfa'a and the yakuna, right? Okay. وَحَاذِرًا, same thing. The verb originally is what? Hadir. Hadir means make sure not to. Hadir means be careful of. Be careful of. Be cautious of. That's hadir. Hadiran with the noon, the light noon of emphasis means make sure you are cautious of. Of what? Tafkhima lafdhil alifi. Beware of. Be cautious of. Making heavy. Tafkhim is what? To make heavy. Right? Tafkhim is to make heavy. Literally, tafkhim is what? To glorify. Okay? To glorify or to make big. To make something big or thick. Okay? That's tafkhim. Lafz, what does the word lafz mean? Pronunciation. Lafz is utterance or pronunciation. Al-alif, we all know al-alif. So beware of making the alif, the utterance of the alif, heavy. That's the second line, right? You see the second line there, the second half of the line. So we're done. Now you got the meaning of every word in this line, right? فَرَقِّقًا مُسْتَفِلًا بِالْأَحْرُفِ وَحَاذِرًا تَفْخِيمَ لَفْظِ الْأَلِفِ. Make sure to make light, to make the mustafil letters light. And be cautious. Make sure to be cautious of what? Of making the alif heavy. Well, isn't the alif heavy? Isn't the alif light or heavy? The alif is neither light nor heavy. It depends on the letter before it. So he says حاذرا تفخيم لفظ الألف. حاذرا تفخيم لفظ الألف. So this section made the scholars have many opinions about it. Because we know, is the alif mustafil or musta'lim? Is the alif mustafil or musta'lim? Istila letter or istifal letter, guys? Tell me about the alif. Is it mustafil or musta'lim? No? The alif is mustafil, ya akhi. The alif is mustafil. In the first section, in the first half of the line, he's saying what? In the first half of the line, he's saying what? Make the mustafil letters, make them light, right? That's what he said. Now, is the alif part of the istifal letters or no? Fair. Is the alif istifal or isti'la? What are the isti'la letters? خص ضغط قيض. The alif is one of them? No. So the alif is istifal letter, right? So he's telling you وحاذرا تفخيم لفظ الألف, and make sure not to make the alif heavy. But we know the alif could be heavy when it comes after a heavy letter. So what he means here, if the alif comes after a mustafil letter, make sure not to make it heavy. Did you get it? You get it? So that's another question, because if you just take it this way, if you take this line this way, make sure don't make the letter, make sure don't make the alif heavy. If you just understand it this way, that's wrong. Because the alif could be heavy, could be light. So I'm going to ask you, what does his words mean when he says حاذرا تفخيم لفظ الألف? I will ask you, isn't the alif sometimes heavy, sometimes light? He's saying a general word. Be careful and be cautious not to make the alif heavy. But we know the alif sometimes heavy. So he means, because he told you, make the mustafil letters, make them light, and beware or be cautious of making the alif heavy. Means after the Tarqeeq letters. Did you get that? Some of the scholars, one smart scholar, he said, وَحَاذِرًا تَفْخِيمَ لَفْظِ الْأَلِفِ means here, the word alif in the Quran, make sure to make it light. And make sure not to make it heavy. So you're not going to say alif. Where is that? Is this word mentioned in the Quran? Mentioned or not? Of course. Where is it mentioned? In the beginning of some surah, right? الحروف المقطعة. The separately read letters, right? The disconnected letters. Alif Lam Mim, right? Alif Lam Mim. Alif Lam Ra. So he means, some scholars said this, that he means, Imam Aljazariyya, that the word alif in those letters, don't make it heavy. So you don't say alif, right? You say alif. That's a possible understanding, but the most possible one is what? Means make sure don't make the alif heavy when it comes after a mustafil letter or a muraqqaq letter. Is that clear? Is that clear? Don't make the alif heavy after it comes, or when it comes after a light letter. So now we understood the line, the literal meaning and the contextual meaning, and now let's go to the details. We have to explain isti'la again and istifal. I have to remind you of istifal and isti'la so that we can, based on that, we can learn tarqeeq and tafkhim. Before, we didn't learn tarqeeq and tafkhim as sifat. Because we learned them. We learned them when we talked about the result of isti'la and istifal. Now, we're going to review them again before we move on. Because most of this section, as we mentioned, is about tarqeeq and tafkhim, istifal and isti'la. So let's go back to isti'la. What is isti'la? Who can remember what is isti'la? Isti'la, remember these three letters. Hamzat wasl, sin, ta. Ist. Ist. Who can remember what this means? These three letters mean when they come in the beginning of the verb. They mean seeking something, asking for something. So istighfar means what? Seeking maghfirah. Istinsar, seeking nasr. Istikbar, seeking kibr. Did you get it? Isti'la, seeking ulu, to go up. Seeking to go up. That's isti'la. Do you remember? Do you understand? Seeking to go up. So what is isti'la? That's in the language. That's in the language. Now in the tajweed terminology, what is isti'la? The rising of the sound of the letter towards the roof of the mouth because of the elevation of the back part of the tongue and the tongue being curved. Right? That's isti'la. You have to know. I'm going to ask you, what is isti'la in the language and what is isti'la in the tajweed terminology? The rising of the sound of the letter. Because isti'la in the language is rising. To go up, to seek to go up. The rising of the sound of the letter towards the roof of the mouth. Why? I might ask you, why in isti'la, why the sound goes up? You have to tell me two things. One is wrong. If you just say one is wrong. The rising of the back part of the tongue and the tongue being curved. So when the sound comes like this, it will come to this curve and go up to the roof. Then it will reflect and making that echo or heaviness. Okay? So that will make the sound reflect back, making the echo or the heaviness of the letter. Did you get that? Let's look at the picture and see how isti'la is. As you can see here. This is the qaf, as you can see, the back part of the tongue touching the soft palate here. See how the back part is raised, and see here in the middle how the tongue is curved. So isti'la is what? The rising of the sound of the letter towards the roof of the mouth due to the fact that the back part of the tongue is raised and the tongue is curved in the middle. What will that rising of the sound do, ya sister? What will it do? The sound is rising to the roof of the mouth. It will reflect back, making the echo or the heaviness of the letter. Is that clear? Did you get that? See how that is in the picture, Ya Umar? The back part of the tongue here, touching the soft palate, and the tongue is curved from the middle. So these arrows represent what? The sound. You see how the sound is going up? Because of this curve, and then it reflects back, making the letter heavy. Qa, qa, not qa, 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 qa. See? Now look here, and that's a tricky question I'm going to ask you. Look at the kaf. In the kaf, as you can see, the back part of the tongue touching both soft palate, which is in red, and hard palate, touching both of them. Ka, ka, not qa, ka. And so the back part of the tongue is raised or not? It is. But is the tongue curved? It's not curved. Because it's not curved, look how the sound is going out of the mouth. It's not stopping there as here, not going up. This is why it doesn't make any echo or heaviness. So you don't say ka. If you say ka, you're curving your tongue. Say ka, right? Ka. Say ka, 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 ka. So the question is what? The question I'm going to ask you, inshallah, is what makes the letter heavy? What makes the letter heavy? Yalla, what's the answer, ya Sheikh? What makes the letter heavy? Is it the fact that the back part is raised? Tell me, ya akhi. If you say yes, you lose the point. Because you saw the calf, the back part of the tongue is raised in the calf, but the tongue is not curved, so the calf is light, calf. So what is the main thing that will make the letter heavy, ya sister? What is it? What is the main thing that will make the letter heavy? The curve of the tongue. Did you get it? Okay. So what is the result of isti'la, ya Ahmad? The result of isti'la, when the tongue is curved and the sound goes up to the roof, what's the result of that? It will come back and reflect, making the echo, making the heaviness. So the result of isti'la is what? Heaviness. And what's the result of istifal? Lightness. Do you get it? That's why he said فَرَقِّقًا مُسْتَفِلًا مِنْ أَحْرُفِي. فَرَقِّقًا مُسْتَفِلًا مِنْ أَحْرُفِي. So istifal is what? Is the opposite of isti'la. Is the sound doesn't go towards the roof of the mouth, it rather goes down right away to the outside of the mouth. And all of the letters are mustafila except for the isti'la letters. So خص ضغط القذ are isti'la. As Imam Aljazariyya said, وبين رخو والشديد لين عمر وسبع علو خص ضغط القذ حصر. So these are the isti'la letters. Everyone besides خص ضغط القذ is what? Is an istifal letter. So the result of isti'la is what? Tafkhim. The result of istifal is what? Tarqeeq. That's why he says فَرَقِّقًا مُسْتَفِلًا مِنْ أَحْرُفِي. Make the istifal letters, make them light. Now here there is an exception, an important point we have to pay attention to. Istifal letters, among them we have alif, and we have lam, and we have ra. Are these istifal letters or isti'la letters? Alif, lam, ra. Alif, lam, ra. Istifal or isti'la? What are the isti'la letters? Khussa, ضغط, qidh. Means alif, lam, ra is not part of them, right? So they are istifal letters. So based on the first section of the line, we have to make them what? Light or heavy? Light. فَرَقِّقًا مُسْتَفِلًا. We have to make them light. But we know from our reading that the alif, sometimes heavy, sometimes light. The lam, sometimes heavy, sometimes light. The ra, sometimes heavy, sometimes light. So these istifal letters, sometimes they are muraqqaq, sometimes they are mufakham. Only these three letters. When they are mufakham, when are they mufakham, and when are they muraqqaq? We explained that in details before. We explained about the alif when we talk about the mad letters. We explained about the lam when we talk about the makhraj of the lam. And also when we talked about sifat al-huruf, we also explained this. And when we talked about the makhraj of the ra, we explained when the ra is heavy and when it is light. Still, we will explain this again. We have a whole section for the ra. After this, Imam Aljazariyya makes a whole section about the ra, and when the ra is heavy and when the ra is light. So we're going to leave that until the next section. As for the alif, we just explained the alif is light when the alif is light, when there is a light letter before it. Don't say istifal letter, say a light letter. When there is a light letter before the alif, it is light. As he's saying here, وَحَاذِرًا تَفْخِيمَ لَفْظِ الْأَلِفِ. Beware of making the alif heavy, means after light letters. What about the lam? What about the lam? When is the lam heavy, when is the lam light? I gave you the rule. When is the lam heavy, when is the lam light? The lam always light in Arabic, except, we're talking Hafs narration again, guys. Except what? Except in the words Allah and Allahumma. In these two words, the lam will be heavy only when there's fatha or dhamma before it. Every other case, the lam is light. Got it? We're done with this line. فَرَقِّقًا مُسْتَفِلًا مِنْ أَحْرُفِي وَحَاذِرًا تَفْخِيمَ لَفْظِ الْأَلِفِ. We're done with the line and with all of its exceptions and details. And we explained them before, and we will explain the ra again in the ra section. Be tajweed expert. The result of isti'la is tafkhim, and the result of istifal is tarqeeq. More details on this will come on the coming verses of Aljazariyya, inshallah. Okay. Sometimes we make them heavy, as we studied earlier. As we mentioned, alif lam ra are istifal letters. Here we're missing alif, lam, ra. Alif, lam, ra are istifal letters, yet sometimes we make them heavy as we studied earlier. Okay. فرقق مستفلا من أحرفي وحاذق تفخيم لفظ الألف. Okay, let's now see the picture of Tarqeeq. Let's see the Tarqeeq picture. Yeah, Omar. So now what is Tarqeeq and what is Tafkhim? Before we move on from what I explained, what is Tarqeeq? What is Tarqeeq, ya Arif?
Result of istifal?
Is the result of istifal. What is that result? What do we make? What is it? What is Tarqeeq? Give me more. Explain it. What is it?
Lightness?
The lightness of the letter, right? In Arabic, as I mentioned, if you remember about the slice, I say rattiq means make it thin. So, literally in the Arabic language, tarqiq is what? Thinness, right? Do we say thinness? Opposite of thickness, right? So, tarqiq is what? Thinness. It's thinness that afflicts the letter. فلا يمتلئ الفم بصداه هو نحول يعتري الحرف فلا يمتلئ الفم بصداه وذلك لعدم تضيق الحلق وعدم تصاعد صوت الحرف إلى قبة الحنك والترقيق مستحق الاستفهام. Okay, so tarqiq is what, as you can see on the picture, نحول يعتري الحرف. What does that mean? What does that mean? Let me explain to you in English the definition. نحول, thinness, thinness that afflicts the letter. Thinness that afflicts the letter. So that the mouth will not be filled with its echo. Ka. See, ka, not qa. Qa. When you say qa, the mouth is being filled with the echo of the qaf, right? Because the sound is going up. Qa. Ka. Ka. Look, when you say qa, as if the letter is thick and fat. Thick and fat. Qa. Imagine in the mouth as if the qa is like this. Like this. Like this. Qa is fat, is thick. But when you say ka, it's like the ka. See? Ka. Qa. Ka. So the tarqiq is thinness that afflicts the letter so that the mouth is not filled with its echo. Why? Because the sound is not going up to the roof of the mouth and the throat is not tightened. The throat is not tightened. Who can tell me? Look at the picture and tell me why what's the result between the throat being tightened and the back part of the tongue being raised? It's very simple. Just look at it and tell me. When the back part of the tongue is raised and curved, the tongue is curved, is the throat tightened or expanded? Is the passage of the air tightened or expanded? Huh? When you raise the back part of the tongue and the tongue is curved, what will happen to the throat? Tightened, right? Right? Like here, look here. Look here. Look. When we raise the back part of the tongue, and the tongue is curved, look what happened here to the throat. Tightened or expanded? Tightened. Because when the back part goes up and the tongue is curved, is pushing from here, right? It's coming back, coming to the back, so it's tightened. While here, on the tarqeeq, look in the tarqeeq. The tongue is not curved, so it's not pushing from the back, so see the throat here is not tightened. So that's the definition. The result is the letter is light. The letter is light. But that's the technical term that you have to know as an Ijazah student. You have to know. Thinness that afflicts the letter so that the mouth will not be filled with its echo because of the sound is not going up to the roof of the mouth and the throat is not going back like this. So the throat is not tightened, it's expanded. Okay? Suppose this is the tongue, guys. This is the throat. Okay? When I raise, look, when I raise, what happened to the throat? When I raise the back part and the back part of the tongue and I curve it, what happens to the throat? Tell me. It tightens, right? But when it is not, it's like this, it's expanded. When I raise it like this, I raise the back part and I curve the tongue, the throat is tightened, right? That's what we saw in the picture. That is tarqeeq. Okay? Thinness that is found in the mouth while pronouncing the istifal letters. والترقيق مستحق الاستفال. What is مستحق of istifal? Tarqeeq. What is مستحق of استعلاء? تفخيم. We mentioned this in the last section when we talked about the tajweed definition. Now let's see the tafkhim, which is exactly opposite. Let's see the tafkhim. What is tafkhim in the language? Ta'zeem. They say fakhamat al-rais. You remember I told you? They say His Excellency, the President. That doesn't apply, should not apply to anybody. Most president in this day, in this time, because they should not be respected or honored because most of them, they don't deserve that because they're not serving the people. So they say fakhamat al-rais. In Arabic they say fakhamat al-rais, His Excellency, the President. So in the language, tafkhim is what? Ta'zeem, honoring. Also like thickness. So in the tajweed technical term, what is the tafkhim? There in the tarqeeq we said thinness. Here we're going to say what? What's the opposite of thinness? Thickness. So tafkhim in the technical tajweed term is what? Simanon, fatness or thickness, fatness that afflicts the letter, so that the mouth will be filled with its echo due to the sound going up to the roof of the mouth and the throat being tightened. Got it? So that is tafkhim. As you can see in the picture, yeah, Omar, tafkhim is fatness, simanon, that afflicts the letter, so it fills the mouth with its echo due to the sound going up to the roof. As you can see here, the sound is going up and the throat is being tightened. And tafkhim is the mustahab of what? Isti'la. Tafkhim is the result of what? Isti'la. When the sound is going up to the roof of the mouth and reflecting, making that echo, that echo is the tafkhim. So the result of isti'la is what? Is tafkhim. Any questions so far? Okay. Thickness or fullness. Okay. Okay. Let's see this picture now. So the Arabic letters, as we mentioned, either musta'liya or mustafila. What are the musta'liya letters? The isti'la letters means khussa ضغط القلب. What are the mustafila letters? All the rest of the letters. Now, isti'la letters, are there any exceptions about isti'la letters? Or they are always mufakham? Huh? What do you think? Isti'la letters always mufakham or there are exceptions? They're always mufakham, no exceptions. Khussa, ضغط قض. These 7 letters, always heavy. Now, what about mustafil letters, Ya Umar? They are always murattaq or some of them are mufakham sometimes. We just explained alif lam ra, remember? Alif lam ra, even though they are mustafil, we make them heavy sometimes. What does that mean? We make them heavy, that means we're going to change the position of the tongue. So it will result in tarqeeq. It doesn't mean, so as you can see here, the mustafil letters, as we mentioned, guys, focus here. Alif, lam, ra, they're mustafil. Means the sound doesn't go up to the roof, right? That's the general case among them, in these letters. When we make these letters heavy, alif, lam, ra, it doesn't mean the sound still will go down and still we're going to make them heavy. No, this means the tongue shape will change. And this is why they will change. How will the tongue shape or the shape of the tongue will change? Based on that rule. For example, when the ra has fatha, the tongue will be curved. Ra. Right? When it doesn't have fatha, like kasra, ri, it will not be curved. Then the same thing with the lam. When you say la. So the tongue, the shape of the tongue will differ in those letters. So will become like mustafil. The sound will go down, so it will make it light. The sound will go up, so it will make it heavy. It depends on the situation or the position of the tongue. Is that clear? So the mustafil letters, Ya Umar, we said alif, lam, ra, sometimes they are heavy, even though they are mustafil. But all of the rest of the mustafil letters, they are all the time light. All the time. Very simple and easy. Should be inshallah for you. It's like review. We already explained all that before. And we finish with the alif. We finish with the second section, as we mentioned, وَحَاذِرًا تَفْخِيمَ لَفْظِ الْأَلِفِ. Beware of making the pronunciation of the alif or the alif. Beware and make sure, be cautious of making it heavy. Means after light letters. Don't say after mustafil letters, because the ra is mustafil. And sometimes it's heavy. Okay? So if you have ra that is heavy, followed by an alif, you have to make that alif heavy. You have to say ra. So don't say the alif is light after istifal letters. That's wrong. Because some istifal letters like the ra could be heavy. So the best thing to say is what? The alif is light when it's followed by murattaq letter. When it's followed by a light letter, you make it light. When it's followed by a heavy letter, you make it heavy. So احذر تفخيم لفظ الألف إن سبقت بحرف مرقق. That's what Sheikh Ayman, that's how Sheikh Ayman put it here. Is that clear? So let's see this last picture here. Let's see the last picture. فرققا مستفلا من أحرفه وحاذرا تفخيم لفظ الألف. Make sure not to make the alif heavy. Means after light letters. Bismillah. Bismillahi. Bismillahi. The lam is light here. So you make the alif light. Bismillahi. Qulillahumma. The lam is light, so you make the alif light. Iyaka. You don't say ya. Since the ya is light, you make the alif light. Iyaka. Minas sama. You don't say sama, ma. The mim is light, so you make the alif light. Ma. Rabbin nas, not na, na. The noon is light, so the alif must be light. Any question about anything we mentioned? Of course, we explained about the alif, when it is heavy, when it is light before, in details when we talked about makhraj of the mad letters. Yalla, let's finish this. I thought that was the last line. This is now the heavy ones. As for the alif which is preceded by a heavy letter, then we have to make it heavy. Example, Khalidin. Yalla, let's read the examples. Khalidin. Al-Qa'imin. Wal-Dallin. Min Allah. Yura. See here? The ra is mustafil, right? Still here we make the alif heavy or light? We make it heavy. Why? Because the ra, even though it's mustafil, but here it's heavy. So we say the alif is heavy when it's preceded by a heavy letter. The alif is light when it's preceded by a light letter. So here we say yura'un. Okay, let's see the shape of the alif. See the shape of the alif. See how the heavy alif here, how the tongue is curved as I just told you, and the sound is going up, and the throat is tightened, and here opposite. The tongue is not curved, and the throat is not tightened, and this is the light alif. See? This is the heavy alif, this is the light alif. The tongue shape is different based on the letter before the alif. Sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad.